Marcus Bagwell, what is going on, man? Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
I am doing excellent. I was just telling him beforehand, my wife was trying to fight me on this. She's like, "Oh, you're interviewing the guy with tattoos for hair." I'm like, "No, that is a completely different person."
Funny quick story with Bam Bam. I wrestled him in Vegas, and it came down to a fire extinguisher. And no, how many fire extinguishers have you ever shot off in your life?
One.
Okay, I've shot off zero at the time,
Oh,
so I didn't
really?
really know what it did. It takes the oxygen out of the air. If you ever watch the match, there's only one match I do that in. We all almost die. And I still got to go to the top rope and hit a blockbuster with no oxygen. It was brutal, but it was a really good match between me and Bam Bam, and Sandman comes down too. But
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I guess the whole point of a fire extinguisher is to get the oxygen out of the air. So, man, yeah, that's a really good. I never even thought of that.
and what do you need at about the 15-minute mark with pro wrestling? You need some air.
Yeah, no kidding. I heard you on 83 weeks.
Really, really great podcast he did
Yeah.
with me on that. And they were, they're great. Those guys are great anyway. But it just adds something to it when when their show's called 83 weeks and your character happened to be a major part of that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, like every Monday morning, I'm there. I'm one of the first people to listen. My only thing is, with that, I didn't know who a certain pro wrestling journalist was prior to listening to that podcast, and it's a little bit like when a girl keeps talking about her ex-boyfriend over and over again. It's like, that's great. I don't care about that person, man. Like, I don't
Right,
care.
right,
It has nothing to do with like the whole reason I'm tuning in.
right.
But yeah, shout out to Conrad Thompson, man.
Yeah, dude,
Um,
Conrad's a great guy, man, and he knows he just knows the business
yeah.
so well, and just how he's a really great guy. And Eric too. He's throughout all the stuff you hear, bad and good, he just always was great in my life, always.
Do you still kind of see him like as your boss a little bit or not really?
I don't think I'll never not see him as my boss. I mean, it just
Mm.
because he just was such a powerhouse of working for. He'd be like a very very powerful head football coach of you never forgetting that coach. And he definitely fits that role because you got to realize, man, there was nobody my age working for Eric Bischoff. Nobody. I was the youngest cat out there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I didn't realize you were quite a bit younger than everybody else. Like you were what, like
Hey,
25?
by this many, by 10 at the very minimum.
Oh, wow.
It's about the whole clique seemed to be about 11, 12 or more older than me.
Did you guys get like mobbed everywhere you went, being like a TV star and everything?
Oh yeah, man. Like it was like, well, see, my ride was nobody knew us. I was a 20-year-old kid working for World Championship Wrestling, and my boss was Ted Turner, and nobody cared. And I didn't get it. I didn't
Hmm.
get it, but I learned it very quickly that nobody cared. Everybody cared about the WWF. And so I dodged the question, they'd be like, what do you guys do for a living? And the last thing I did was say pro wrestling. I'd be like, I work for Ted Turner. Okay.
Hmm.
So a couple more holes in the golf course. And then, so what do you guys do now? I go, well, we're in the entertainment department. Oh, okay. Okay. And then finally they're all over you. And so finally you're like, I pro wrestling. And they're like, what? You mean that fake stuff? And you mean like WWF stuff? And I'm like, well, and you got to explain it so many times. Well, we're WCW. We're owned by. You try to make it better by saying, what Ted Turner owns us, and we make money, and they're just all looking at you like you're crazy. And then every once in a while, you have to do something like, yeah, that's my Mercedes out there parked next to your Nissan, but because I just didn't think we made money or anything. So everything I had to defend my whole career, thank God, was paid off by WCW kicking WWF's ass. And it was just a lot of fun to do that.
I heard you in another podcast say like, I think it was like 98, 99. Vince McMahon contacted you about working for him, maybe, but you turned him down.
If my timeline would have been, it probably would have been 99 because I
90.
broke my neck
Okay.
98 and I made it back in 10 months. It was April of 98. So it was early 99 when I was over, because I got over not being in the ring. I got over as Buff Bagwell because I was hurt. So I kind of created Buff Bagwell being injured. The top hat and all that stuff was during my injury because I was trying to get me over because I couldn't wrestle. And then all of a sudden I had the top hat and I was over and I hadn't even climbed in the ring. So when I got to the ring and was Buff Bagwell, man, it really took off, you know. So, but yeah, '99, Vince McMahon contacted me and did the whole back then. The protocol thing with WWF was they contacted you, they flew you and your wife up, first class limousine pickup. You went to his house. He had dinner for you. You talked about contract. You talked about money, and then he first class home ticket, limo, all that stuff. And so we're doing that procedure. He calls me, hey, come up, check it out. Let's talk. Me and my wife, first class, limos, whole 9 yards. We land, and I'm thinking back now that I think probably the buying of WCW was in the mix at this stage because he didn't want me to come to the house. Something came up, which who knows what, but he wanted to meet at my hotel. So he rents out a boardroom with just me and my wife and Shane and Vince in a hotel room. And I mean, into a boardroom. And we just kind of talked for about 30 minutes, just shooting the shit, shook hands, met each other. And he asked a couple of questions like, you know, what do you think wrestling means to you? And I told him what I thought it meant, how great it was, and what it takes to be over with yays and boos and, you know, and just the way I looked at it and stuff. And I told him how I felt. Hey, Nathan. And so he, we really got along real well, got home. And when I signed that contract in the hospital, you got to realize I signed a $2 million contract for 3 years. And when I had a broke neck in 1998. So Eric sent my contract to me in the hospital bed because I wanted to sign my contract because I'd worked hard for that payoff of that contract. And all I had with that is a handshake with Eric Bischoff. And so I could have Eric could have said, look, bro, we don't know what's wrong with you. We don't know if you're going to be okay. But Eric said, look, man, you're Buff Bagwell and we can do anything with you. You can be an announcer for us. Hell, you can be a referee as Buff Bagwell. You're so over, you're in. And I was like, okay. I said, well, so I didn't push it with all the things I could have taken out of my contract. I was just a professional guy that did what a buddy of mine did by giving me a contract deal. And I turned to the very back page, made sure the money was right, and signed my name. And so I could have taken out several things I needed to take out if I wanted to make a move like this. But I didn't want to do that to Eric. I didn't want to push it because I love WCW and I didn't want to go nowhere. But I'll be honest with you. I know Eric don't know this story, and he may not even believe it, but this story truthfully happened. That's not one you want to share with your boss, you know.
Yeah, no kidding.
But Vince did call me back up, and he said, "Man," he goes, "Your contract is ironclad," and that's why I just told you about me signing it and not taking anything out. I signed just a basic contract, but it was $2 million, but it was just a basic deal. So he couldn't, there was no loopholes to get out of it or anything. So he just said, look, man, you know, we love you. And well, hopefully, he goes, we will do business. I said, absolutely, we will. We'll definitely do business again one day. Fast forward, he buys our company and I go from Buff Bagwell to, what's your name again, buddy?
That would have been crazy to see you coming down the ramp on a WWF show. Would that have been
That's what we were going to do. It was going to be the full-fledged attack that, you know, that hidden attack like Lex did on Nitro, WCW. It was going to be that same kind of attack, but, you know, again, I'd been the first one that jumped ship from WCW and went to Vince that was impactful. And before I could make that impactful hit, he bought our company.
Was this like when like Big Show left and like Eddie Guerrero and then
nobody had left?
That's so interesting. You were his first pick.
I think Eddie was already there, but that's about it. And I was over, man. I was really over. I just signed a $2 million deal with World Championship Wrestling. I was happy. So, but at the same time, with Vince calling me, I was really excited about that too. But it was good to know that, okay, I at least know I got somebody else that's interested, you know?
Yeah. Could you have just sat on your contract like a lot of guys did when that happened and just wait for it to run out?
The reason you saw me, Dallas, and Booker T first was not because we wanted to be seen first. It was
Hmm.
because our contracts were up. So we
Oh,
had,
okay, okay.
yeah. So the guys that you didn't see just means their contracts wasn't up. So when Vince McMahon bought World Championship Wrestling, he had to pay for all those contracts. Your Goldbergs, your Stings, your Lugers. Some guys just had re-upped their contract. Some guys didn't, like Booker T, me, and Dallas. We had great deals, but they were up within a few months of Vince buying our company.
WCW sold for what, like a measly 2 million or something like that. So
Like
like,
peanuts, man.
so like the contracts themselves were actually worth 100 times more than the actual company. That's really interesting.
Luger was sitting at home making 2 million by itself.
Wow, that's that's crazy. Did you go to New Japan at all?
I got really over in Japan with Scott Norton right before I broke my neck. I went over to WCW, sent me over to with Scott Norton as vicious and delicious, but mainly as the as NWO, and they had
Hmm.
their own NWO, and they
Oh
thought
right, yeah,
we were,
yeah,
yeah, they were the Muda, and the guy with the mafia kick. All their main guys were their NWO in Japan,
yeah.
and so they had their NWO in Japan, and we had our NWO. So the NWO Sting would come over to Jeff Farmer would come to in Japan with us over there,
Hmm.
and it was very over there, and Buff Bagwell was going to get Scott Norton killed, is what he thought, because of the way that I did my gimmick and the way I made fun of all the wrestlers and everything. But once they caught on that I was a team player, they loved me. But I'd go out and do the sumo guy with we do all that, and I'd imitate the guy. And man, they get mad at me. They thought I was really making fun of them, but they didn't understand that if I made fun of them and then they beat me up, makes them look great.
Yeah,
Once
yeah,
they learned that, Buff Bagwell got over in Japan, and
yeah.
so when I came back from that is when it really worked in Japan, because Eric Bischoff saw how over I got in Japan, and then when I came at WCW, they were arms wide open to do the contract.
Okay. What did I ask you? Going back to New Japan once WCW folded.
The New Japan thing, I didn't go back after when WCW went down. The New Japan thing, I was really over there, so I really thought a lot would come from it. Well, during the when it first ended, WCW first ended, Australia is what got popular. A guy named
Hmm.
Andrew McManus opened up World Wrestling All Stars as something you should check on and look at, because it's off the chain great stuff, because everybody that the WWF didn't have, they worked for this World Wrestling All Stars. We had Sting, Steiners, Sid Vicious, Luger, Bagwell. I mean, everybody that was anybody was there if Vince
Hmm.
didn't have them. It was a hell of a Jeff Jarrett's. I mean, it was just a hell of a card. It was a great card.
Oh wow.
And matter of fact, that happened before TNA stuff, I think. I remember my contract ended, and I think it was 3 months of pay you got. But I remember the date. It was October the 15th was when I was completely not with the WWF anymore. And I left for Australia the next day. So October 15th of 2001 was when Australia was the bomb. And everybody was there. Booker T's, everybody. Then we came back to deal with WWF stuff.
Interesting. Okay, I had no
Yeah.
idea about this.
Yeah,
It,
it's called WWA, World Wrestling All Stars. And this is where Jeff thought of the TNA stuff.
okay, man, how did I miss this? Yeah, WWA. Wow.
Yeah,
I'll have
World
to,
Wrestling in Australia. And I mean, it was a big deal, man. The guy that ran it, his name was Andrew McManus. And he did like a lot of Rolling Stones and rock concerts and stuff. I mean, it was first class, making
oh
big
wow.
money. Road Dogg, Jarrett, Booker T, Sid, Lex, me, Sting, Steiners. I mean, just a lot of talent, man, was there. A ton of talent.
Was that just like a one-time thing, or was it like
No, we were there for about a half a year. I'd say 6 months.
oh wow.
I did like 6 tours over there.
Is it still around?
No, it went down like everything else does in business, in wrestling business.
I
But
feel like
I mean, it was going to be a big deal, and we were going to make it. I mean, it was a, and we were doing 30,000 people in venues, and then
oh wow.
it fizzled out too.
Were you ever contacted about the group that they made in TNA? It was like Nash, Sting, Steiner, Kurt Angle. It was like I
And they had
can't.
the suits.
Yeah, what was that called? Oh man, I just can't think of the name.
I remember it was a cool deal, but no, I
Yeah.
wasn't in that. I didn't. They didn't. But they did call me, and I really fit into a spot that they were doing with Sting needing a tag team partner, and he
Hmm.
had Lex come in for it. They had me come in for it, and who was going to be the big partner for Sting, and I was in tip top shape, ready to go, ready to do everything, and they picked a guy that's over now, but I don't think he was then. Samoa Joe,
Oh sure, yeah, yeah.
and it was cool. A great guy. I mean, he's got a great workability and all that stuff. But I just thought that I fit more to be with Sting, being WCW and being
Yeah.
the guy that used to help me with my career and save me and all that stuff. There was much more ties with me and Sting,
I mean, yeah, people had seen you and him on TV for like 15 years, so it'd be a little
right?
strange to just switch it last minute. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
little
and they had a
strange.
big board. They had a big signing of the deal, and it was done really well at TNA.
Yeah.
And I mean, I even think they were going to have me in as it, and it just kind of fizzled out and went away.
You still talk to Sting?
I haven't spoke to him this go around, but he's been there for me every time that I'd venture off and I'd get back clean again or thought I was clean again. And this time, I was able to really stick to everything, and I know I'm going to be able to this time only because of what I've done with my aftercare. I before was very adamant about 30 days and you're good and I'm clean now. I can do this. I got it. I was cocky about having it. This is easy to stay clean. And none of that's true. And I didn't listen to the 90 meeting, the 90 days, a joke, a sponsor. You got to be kidding me. And like I explained on Eric's show, the 83 weeks, you got to be a follower in this one. And I'm not used to being a follower. So, but in this addiction thing, it seemed to be the role of what I had to take to be successful here. And it was to follow. And, the saying used to be lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. So
Hmm.
it's not a negative thing to follow. It just was presented to me as a child, as I grew up in my family I grew up in, that being a follower wasn't the cool way. I was a leader. I'm a leader. And you got to be a leader to make it in life, period. But you really got to be a leader to make it in wrestling. And so I was a leader, but in addiction, man, you got to be a follower. You got to listen. And the 90 meeting, the 90 days does work. Having a sponsor does work. And I've just been in my life that following thing didn't work for me, but in addiction, it has, it does, and it will work.
That's awesome, man. I saw you got a certification on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What was that for? I couldn't read it.
I graduated. I went to 30 days at Black Bear Recovery in North Georgia mountains, and then I graduated it, and then I went straight. I mean, day 31, I was at a place called Tengu that's in
Hmm.
Atlanta, Georgia, right here in Marietta, and then that's what's called aftercare, and that's what I never used to listen to. I never believed in that aftercare thing. 30 days was a ton of time, and that's 4 whole weeks, and oh my god, 30 days, and that's plenty, and I'm sober now. But it
Hmm.
don't work like that. It's something you gotta really live. You can't just say, well, I've been off pills for 30 days now, I'm okay, because it don't work. So this time I really did the right thing. I went to aftercare at Tengu. Then that process was 90 days. So by the time I did those two, that's 120 days clean. My sobriety date was August 27th of 2022. And if you add that up, I think today's like 150 something today.
Oh wow. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, man.
So
Good stuff.
did like DDP reach out to you first, or like how did it all happen?
My niece is kind of what happened. My niece has been in my life my whole life, and not my whole life, but her whole life. I've been in it, and she was is very special woman. Her name's Jonna Bagwell, and she came into my life from a very young age. And my brother's got he's got several kids with two different women, and it was just very hard for him to do all the kids and stuff. So I got really attached to Jonna. It was kind of like her father. And even though I was her uncle, I was more like her father, and just really stepped in and played a big role. And she just was just always into my life, and she always loved me deeply. And she saw me fading off, and she stepped in and helped me a little bit and saw a little bit what was going on. And so we reconnected. And then she really saw me kind of really diving in to this injury with my right knee, and just seeing the alcohol starting to get more and more, and the pills getting a little bit worse and worse. And then, so she's the one that started it all of it. And then Dallas and Steve, you really were like, hey man, we got to do something about this. So Dallas is the one that stood in and said, look, it's time for you to go to rehab, or Jonna's gone, I'm gone. Everybody's totally cutting you off if you don't go to rehab. And I think they thought I was going to argue about it a little bit more, but I was like, let's go. I'm ready, you know? So I went.
Did have you like been friends with DDP throughout the years then? I'm assuming you have been.
Me and Dallas went against each other at WCW as Rookie of the Year.
Oh, really? Wow.
He's 14 years older than me, and
Wow.
on paper, he's 20 years younger than me in person. But on paper, we were against each other on the Rookie of the Year, and I beat him on the WCW Rookie of the Year, but he won Pro Wrestling Illustrated Rookie of the Year, which is considered really the bigger one. I wanted to be on the TV one, the WCW one. Yeah. But he was up against me during Rookie of the Year, so we broke in this business together. He was told he was never going to make it as an older guy. I was told I was never going to make it because I was too young of a guy. So we kind of found a happy medium with those two stories and became great friends years ago, and we stayed together the whole way through.
Speaking of Rookie of the Year, I heard DDP tell a funny story. I think it must have been after like he was Rookie of the Year. The following year, he finds the magazine and he says, "Who's Rey Mysterio? I'm gonna go find this guy."
Yeah.
Little did we know that's going to be a household name. So were you staying at DDP's house then for a little bit?
I still am. I'm living at the accountability. I'm at the accountability crib. Yeah, I stay there. I've been there. I've got a home in Ackworth. It's just worked out better for me to stay down here until I got through with my aftercare, because it was right by all the stuff I had to do. And my aftercare is just a mile away. The gym's right here. So, and, my head of my support team, Steve Yu, which is, him and Dallas are best friends. And now Steve and me are great friends. And he takes care of me, and he leads my team. And he's kind of the brains behind everybody at DDPY. And so, it's great to have him on as my leader of helping me out. So for him to be hands-on with me down here, to stay down here, is better.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in a good place.
A great place. I'm at the PC right now. This is Dallas's Performance Center. They call this the house that Shark Tank built, because they went on Shark Tank and they made like millions of dollars just putting the DDPY on, the Shark Tank.
Sure. Was Scott there? Scott Hall?
When Scott and Jake came through the accountability crib at the same time. And Jake was like Dallas's number one guy he was trying to help. But Scott kind of fell into the same mold. And out of that, they both came out as WWE Hall of Famers. And they went in the same year. So it was kind of weird. It was very special how they both were at the accountability crib, and they both go to the Hall of Fame. They both go in the same year. So, and that actually saved Jake Roberts' life, but it added 10 years to Scott Hall's.
I believe it. Yeah. So do you have any interest in getting back in the ring?
100%.
Any plans on trying to go to like AEW or maybe hit up WWE again?
I don't really know that deep in. I mean, there's no doubt in Mark Bagwell's mind that I am going to be back in the ring again. There's no doubt. To what capacity? I don't think it's even safe to say that one yet, as far as which
Okay.
company and stuff. But I just want to know in my brain the goal that I've set was to be clean and sober. I've did that goal, which is great. Again, it's not over. It never really is. So I love that. I've embraced that. I've taken that on. But at the same time, it's time for a new goal that Marcus Bagwell
Sure.
needs to work toward. And that is, I'm going to be back in the ring again, no doubt.
When you're in the gorilla position, do you ever get nervous? Like when you hear your music turn on?
I don't know, man. I think your true stars at that stage, at that much of a crossroad right there of the go position, it's just time to step up. You got to almost
Yeah.
you're almost cocky right there. I know I am.
Is it
I'm
maybe
almost
that's
telling
like
myself how great I am.
maybe that's like where your persona takes over, like we're in that very moment. It's like, all right, it's
you
go
got you got
time.
to switch. You got to switch the switch sometime, and the switch starts right there. And then when you walk out that crowd and see the people, and you go into my dance or whatever it is you're
Yeah.
doing, it just the people and the pyro, and then you're in, man.
What are your workouts like these days?
What I do is I can't do legs now because my knees hurt, but
Oh, right. Yeah.
until that gets healthy again, I do a body
Hmm.
part. I do one body part a day. People that do two body parts a day is borderline on overtraining, I think. And the best I ever looked at in my life was chest day one, back day two, legs day three, shoulders and arms. A 5 day routine is the Mac Daddy. 5 days is a lot though for anybody. So chest try, back by, legs to break it up, and then shoulders is the other great routine. And that's kind of what we do now. We do chest try, back by, legs, no legs, shoulders. We take a day off and do shoulders. So you have a little time off between everybody. And that routine works good. People that try to do too much, I think, a week, you just end up overtraining a little bit. So,
Hmm.
I just believe in just hitting the one body part with a little try, big body part like back with a little bit of by, and then I do a day off, then hit big shoulders, and then I do another arm workout during the week if possible to get an arm workout on the same day. So it's one body part again.
Sure. And then what are you doing for like dieting?
Dieting is what brought me to the table as Buck Bagwell is. I do the zero carbs during the week or wherever you start for 6 days. And then the seventh day you carb load, which means you eat everything you want to eat all day long. But then the
Okay.
next day you go right back to zero carbs. And when you really start checking out your carbs, you'll see that zero carbs is really, really, really hard to do.
So you're just eating probably like grilled chicken a lot and like a lot of meat.
Broccoli, you can do fibrous carbs like
Okay.
broccoli and cauliflower and things like that. But if you ask Alexa or your phone, just ask it if what's in a cup of anything, and everything's got carbs in it, man. Everything. It's just
Hmm.
you want it to be fibrous carbs instead of like complex carbs. Your complex carbs are your potatoes and your rices and
Hmm.
your pancakes and your breads and cereals. And it just I mean the other day I was doing a lollipop, a Tootsie Roll lollipop, and just my brain has really clicked into the carbs again. And I said, Alexa, and I asked how many carbs were in a lollipop. 17 grams of carbs in a lollipop. I got
Seriously?
that sucker and threw it. I was like, you got to
Oh
be kidding. So it's
man.
really hard to do, man.
I was at a gas station somewhere and they had this like new organic tea. it had 60 grams of sugar on it. When I read the can, I was like, what is organic about this? It's like,
See,
yeah,
that's why you can't get caught up on the gluten free and all that.
yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Dallas is very adamant about it, and he's correct. But I think people get tied up in that instead of just worrying about the word carbohydrate. I mean, it's a bad word, man. It's if you're trying to do something with your weight. If I was going to write a book as Buff Bagwell on how to look like Buff Bagwell did, it would be titled Carbs and Cardio. Because carbohydrates and cardio is a huge factor in how you look and how good you're going to look. It may not be how healthy you are. That's where gluten and things like that come in, maybe. But as far as just weight loss and be healthy, you just can't go wrong with a high protein, low carb, and low fat.
Do you take any like whey protein or anything like that either?
I live on a whey protein, but I found a protein powder that has zero carbs in it, zero sugar, zero carbs, isopure, and you just got to look on the back, and like you just did too with your tea, it looks all healthy and pretty on the front, right? You turn on the back, I mean, and it's it's got 60 grams of sugar. I mean, 60 grams of sugar is, you might as well just say 60 grams of fat, because that's what it turns into your body.
Yeah. What was your protein intake like back in the day?
Protein intake for anybody across any board of what they're trying to do in any capacity, if they're trying to build any kind of muscle, you do 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Okay. So in my heyday, I was 230. That's 230 grams of protein per day, every day.
Well, and then to top it off, I also like to do a little bit of tanning just to get some color in there.
I got burnt the other day. I'm red. I was like, what happened?
How long did you go in for?
They changed the bulbs. They tried to talk me into only going 5, and I went
10. I have to do the stand-up one because I fall asleep in the lay-down tanning. Like every time, I always just end up.
In the old days, they went 30 minutes, man. I used to fall asleep in that all the time, but now they just go 10,
30 minutes. That's got to be like a low bulb. Like
that's way before you were born. So I knew about tanning bed. I mean, people came all around just to see our tanning bed at our house.
Really?
Oh yeah. Nobody had a tanning bed at their house. Nobody.
What the?
So I'd go to schools as a freshman, and I was all tan. Everybody's like, "How do you tan?" I'm like, "I got a tanning bed." They're like, "I'm tanning what?" And they people come look at the house like, what is that? It's a bed you lay in.
The only other like time I've seen a tanning bed in a house is on the Jersey Shore. I don't know if you've watched that show before.
Oh yeah, Jim Tan Laundry.
Exactly. See, you know what's up. Are we gonna see any more of you like doing like skits? Like I saw you did like the Mr. Rogers like thing.
Hey, yeah, we're having fun with it. We around here, that's what we do. It's a production company around here. So we're. Did you see the skit with me and Dallas over Christmas?
I didn't know.
He did. I'll send it to you. He did a thing where he was Bob Ross.
Oh sure, yeah, the painting guy.
Yeah, the painting guy. He had the wig on and all that, and I was Mr. Rogers or Mr. Bagwell, and he was the Bob guy, and it was just so funny, man. He was doing the painting, and we get in a fight. He diamond cuts me over it. So it's good stuff. But yeah, we're gonna do some more stuff like that for sure.
Have you ever thought about like doing a Twitch? Like
yeah, we're getting ready to do some more stuff like that. We just haven't. People are like asking for more of the Mr. Bagwell stuff, so we're definitely gonna give them to him.
Like it'd be awesome if you played like one of the old WCW Mayhem games, like live on Twitch or something like that. That'd be dope.
Yeah, we're gonna do stuff like that coming up for sure.
Also, we got to give a shout out to my buddy Buff Pro. What's up, Dane? Do you have any merch you want to plug or anything like that?
Man, just check me out. I'm on the best way to find me out there is go to marcusbuffbagwell.com. That takes you to my website, and there you can go to all of my, to my Facebook and Instagram and all my, social media stuff. You can go there, Twitter, all that. But everything's pretty much Marcus Buff Bagwell. Twitter is Mark Buff Bagwell because whatever reason they don't allow that many letters. But the best way to do it is go to marcusbuffbagwell.com. check out my website, and you can go to all the 4 links to get to all my social media stuff. But I'm really diving into the Twitter thing right now, and just trying to get back out there in the social media, and just got this sobriety thing where now I can start dabbling into some more stuff, and just getting excited, just trying to take podcasts and stuff, just getting back out there to let everybody know I'm still here.
I was talking to you yesterday. You went golfing. You had to swing with one arm. I don't know if you were kidding or not.
No, I'm not. I'm not kidding. But it's the reason why is my right knee won't allow me to hold 2 hands, so I hold a crutch in this hand, and I swing with one hand. But I'm competitive.
Okay, so you still do okay?
Yeah, I win. I don't know how. Athlete.
All right. As always, you are buff. You are the stuff, and the girls just cannot get enough. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, brother.